G'day, everyone. I'm Stuart Kavanagh, and welcome to the After Extra Time podcast, where we talk about the big news, the big games, and the big names in the English Premier League. As per usual, I'm joined by journalist, Manchester United fan, editor-in-chief of thesportsbank.net, author of Transatlantic Passage, How the Premier League Redefined Soccer in America, Mr. Paul M. Banks. How are you going, Paul?
Hey, man, it's good to be back. It's new year, new us, new podcast. Feeling good.
Absolutely, mate. Nice and refreshed after the week off.
Oh, absolutely. It was a good change of pace for us, definitely.
Absolutely, mate. It is always time to take a bit of a step away, mate. And absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that stuff.
Oh, well, I would think so. I mean, we're playing hard to get with our listeners here.
Okay, so we are a Premier League podcast, but there's some big news in the sporting world that we want to touch on just off the top here this morning, Paul. This morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world, we accommodate to you all. What do you know about the Novak Djokovic saga over here in Australia?
Well, it is pretty interesting in that it's been such a worldwide sensation, and it's not every day that the biggest sports news story in the entire world takes place in Australia. So that's really, the Daily Show had a lot of good jokes about it. He arrived, and then the Australian government deported him, and he's like, oh, well, he got on a 25-hour flight to then be told he has to go and leave and go on a 25-hour flight home. So whatever he thinks is in the vaccine, I mean, how could it be worse than spending 50 hours on a plane?
Absolutely. Even with that private plane business he's probably got going on there. Novak Djokovic, I got to tell you, he's a polarizing figure in not only Australian sports, but I live in Melbourne, where the Australian Open takes place, and he's a polarizing figure across the city too. I, for one, and this could be a bit of a hot take or whatever, as long as it took the government to do the right thing and apply the same rules to him that apply to everyone else, they did it eventually. It's just a little bit of a wake-up call that just because you're a world-class sportsman, someone on the verge of breaking the Grand Slam record, it doesn't mean the rules don't apply to you. And I think we went the long way about it, and we really tried to accommodate. When I say we, I mean the government in Victoria here really tried to accommodate for the Serbian superstar. But eventually, as it all played out, they got it right. And the virus COVID-19 doesn't discriminate between the rich, the poor, the talented, the less talented, shall we say. So, of course, the rules shouldn't discriminate either.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know why it's taken them that long to figure that out. And no matter how many titles you win, or no matter who you are, the rules are the rules. And I don't know what's gotten in his head, but that seems to be a thing, like, especially with the NFL here, a lot of NFL starting quarterbacks, there's this idea that they don't want to get vaccinated. And like another thing I saw on the Daily Show segment, this was really funny. He is quoted as, he's got the gluten allergy, which 2 of my 3 sisters do. So I know how real gluten intolerance is. But he said that he feels weaker when he's holding a piece of bread in his
really? Oh my God, I know that one.
What a weirdo.
Oh man. So that's Novak. Novak said that?
He did, yeah. That's a real quote.
That's fucking incredible, man. I mean, this guy's had to be in his bonnet about COVID since it became a thing. If you look over the record books, or the history books, should I say, he's been anti-vaccine. I think he was one of the ones at the very beginning who was like, this is all about government control, man. So he's got some out there ideas. Who would have known? All it would take is to throw some bread at him, and he'd be It's his kryptonite. It's his weakness.
There you go. If you're up against him in a tournament, just go to the store and get a big loaf of honey wheat and just throw it at him across the court. You're fine.
That's a wonderful little nugget you stumbled across there, mate. That's really tickled me. My goodness. Novak Djokovic. Probably just a big loser for the week, just in general. Talking about losers for the week, Paul, do you think this is a good segue into our first section for the podcast, our winners and losers section?
That's what I love about what you do on this show. It's a perfect segue.
So this is where we take a look at the week that's just been played in the English Premier League. And, we've kind of edged it out to football in general, really, lately. Just with the haphazard scheduling of the Premier League means that games are kind of running into each other, and we can't tell the difference between a Premier League clash and a non-Premier League clash from time to time. So anyway, this is a long way of saying it's the winners and losers section. Paul, why don't you give us your loser for the week?
Well, I just want to second that. You and I forget there's even a Moose Cup, or Moose Carabao Cup, EFL Cup, Capital One Cup, League Cup. We forget that's going on because there's rescheduled league games, and then there's an FA Cup, and I've nabbed Chelsea as my loser in a couple of recent episodes, and I'm pegging them again. However, that comes with the caveat of I also think the loser here is anyone who wants a title race, because it is mid-January, and this is, as our British listeners would say, done and dusted. Chelsea just did not bring it in the game. Well, I mean, we already discussed this in the last episode, that the title race was done with that Chelsea-Liverpool draw. But just to make sure, that it's really done, we had that embarrassment from them on Saturday morning. So congratulations. Well, not congratulations, but Thomas Tuchel and company, you guys are the big loser. And for all the neutrals or anybody who wants to see a fun title race, we all lost as well.
Absolutely. Great pick, Paul. I seen your pick, and it was going to be mine, because they really just put the full stop at the end of the title race being over, that we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. We're lucky in a way with the Premier League that the rest of the table, particularly the race for fourth spot, is it's heating right up. I mean, Liverpool drop some more points and they fall into that race. I'd argue that Chelsea are in that race already, and it goes all the way down to 7th or 8th position. The title race is gone, but we've got the Champions League race to look forward to. Relegation is definitely on. I said 5 or 6 weeks ago, I think Norwich won't get relegated, and I thought they were going to make me look stupid. It's kind of looking like a stroke of genius for me at the moment, but that's a different topic for a different day. Chelsea, or anyone who wants a title race, is a great pick for the loser. Personally, I've gone for Everton this week. I know they've been trash for quite some time under Rafa, and it's not unprecedented that they would sack the Spaniard. He's kind of a yesterday's man. I'll put him in the category with Jose Mourinho, just kind of holding on to former glories, and the game's kind of passed him by. But the reason I've chosen Everton as a loser is because they just don't seem to have a plan. So the word is that they want to get Roberto Martinez, who was the first manager that the new owner actually sacked when he came into the place. So that's interesting. I just don't see what they're doing there. They're throwing good money after bad. I mean, I know Rafa didn't have money, but before then, they're just spending tons of money on just mediocre players. And, shock horror, they're sitting in mid-table. I'm a Liverpool fan, as everyone knows, but, Everton's a big club, and they need to be run better than that. And they need to just maybe just get a placeholder for the rest of this season while they figure out what steps they actually want to take to kind of attempt to bring Everton back, get a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, 20-year, whatever you need to do, but get a plan stick to the plan. The Everton fans deserve better. The players deserve better. The club deserves better. And you know, it just really illuminated it to me when they sacked Rafa the week just gone.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The word I'd use is identity. Plan, identity. It's kind of the same thing in a lot of ways, because what are they doing? Like, they're going to go back to Roberto Martinez? Are they going to try to prize Jose Mourinho away from AS Roma? Are they going to go, like, what are they going to do? And really an interesting part of when I was writing Transatlantic Passage and I read a couple books, The Club, which is like, written by these two British guys about, it's kind of like a similar book to mine, except it focuses on it from a British perspective and then how it went around the world, versus my book focuses on the American perspective. From reading that book, I didn't know that we used to have a big five, not a big six, and that Everton was part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
talk about falling off the map. Wow.
They've been mired in mid-table mediocrity for as long as I can remember. I think the last time that they were a legitimate challenger for the top four was the early 2000s. Might have been the year Liverpool beat AC Milan in the Champions League final. They might have actually finished fourth, I think. But yeah, it's getting away from it. Identity is a great way to put it. As a man who's supported some teams that I've had some lean times in recent years. As a supporter, you can cop it a little bit if you can see a bit of a vision, an identity, a plan in place, and you can go, okay, we'll take this short-term pain, but you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't envisage that there's many Everton fans out there that are like, okay, we can take this short-term pain, because there is no light at the end of the tunnel at this point for them.
Well, there is that beautiful new facility that's going to be right on the Mersey. It's going to be right on the riverfront, and okay, if they're going to build it, that's going to open pretty soon. Is it going to bring a ton of money in?
Well, it could be a great place to watch Championship football if they don't get their shit together.
That's right. They're behind Leeds United now on the table.
Anyway, so there are losers, Everton and Chelsea / the title race. Let's get a bit more positive here, Paul. Let's get optimistic about things. Who is your winner this week?
I'm going to go with Felipe Coutinho, because I always like a good comeback story. And, even though we did it to my beloved United, we got a joke about him and being reunited with Stevie G. Now there's talk that Gerrard wants to go and get Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
I mean, why not just get the band back together? Bring the... You can't get... I don't think you're going to get Raheem Sterling, but... Will, our in-house Liverpool guy, said, he said, might as well sign Sturridge and Henderson and try to recreate their near Premier League win.
I from what I hear, the Suarez interest is firm. It's solid. That's a legitimate thing they want to chase up. He's getting that 2014 team together. Imagine. For what it's worth, I enjoyed Coutinho's comeback. I love a bit of a comeback story too. I think them signing Suarez is not a horrible idea either. I think it is a little bit pie in the sky, though. They've got Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins there. They could do a lot worse than putting that 2014 team back together. Maybe Stevie G will pull the boots back on. Great winner, though. We all do love a bit of a comeback story, mate. Phil Coutinho, fantastic. I think he's going to be a great signing. I've got some ideas. Some people might say some strange ideas about how Aston Villa could line up, but I think him and Emi Buendia as double number 10s could really transform Aston Villa into something special this season. My winner is a little bit of a comeback story too, maybe not on the same grand stage, but Bruno Fernandes has had a bit of a tough time. He was touted as one of the players to really get the rub from Ralph Rangnick when Ole was shown the door. He had a bit of a stuttering start under the German, but his last 2 games, he's run the show. He scored both the goals in that Aston Villa game that we were talking about. He was fantastic, and he ran the show in this morning's fixture against Brentford that Manchester United won an encounter at the end. So he's my winner for this week. He's a world-class player. I think he just needs a bit of an arm around him and the right system for him to show off his talents, and he could be pivotal to a dramatic uptick in form for Manchester United in the second half of the season.
Yeah, the Portuguese Magnifico. He when he came over in that January transfer window, and he came over on the very last day in the window, because that is what Ed Woodward does. That is what the United board does. They can't get their shit together. And man, he saved that season. He helped them that year. And if only they had done it sooner. And for a long time, you could, I mean, that was a very common joke on Man United Twitter that the team would be relegation fodder without Bruno Fernandes. He was the best player, most quality player for a very long time. And he totally fell off the map. And I don't get it. I don't know why he just lost it. It's weird, but that's it. You need him back. Obviously, you need the other Portuguese guy in the final third that they have. Some of you people may have heard of him. And if those two are clicking, then you can kind of start to see this team possibly start to live up to their price tag and their potential.
So that was my winner this week, Bruno Fernandes. Okay, here we go. It's the section that everyone's waiting for. I've been waiting for it. Paul's been waiting for it. The clubs are waiting for it. The players are waiting for it. The fans are waiting for it. It is the After Extra Time weekly awards. And we've got them here for you again. I feel like I don't think we had awards last week, did we, Paul?
No, we had awards. We didn't previews.
That's right. Geez, it seems like a lifetime ago. Regardless, they're back. The awards are back again. And we've had a slight change of format. There's 2 awards for each segment here now. Paul, why don't you run through your goal of the weekend award, mate?
I'm going to go with Kevin De Bruyne in the 70th minute of Chelsea versus Manchester City, because it is the goal that ended the title race. And while it was very aesthetically pleasing in its own right and fun to watch, pure power from a guy who is still world class, still top of his game, but has had some struggles. I believe he's one of the rare few people who is he is, an elite athlete in top physical condition, was fully vaccinated, and still COVID got him, and not just got him, but he really kind of kicked his ass for a while. He was hurting, but he came back from it, and he's had some injuries and everything recently, but he still showed you why he's Kevin De Bruyne, and it's clutch.
Absolutely. Couldn't have described it any better. Couldn't have paid testament to the player any better. It was a beautiful goal. Just the and everything it stood for too. He was always the man to put the exclamation point at the end of the title challenge for everyone else. I've gone the other end of the table. It was a brief moment of hope for Newcastle and the Magpies. Alan Saint-Maximin, this guy is too good to be playing in Newcastle United. Then by the same token, you worry where Newcastle United would be without him. This was just a beautiful solo goal, just beat 2 or 3 defenders. It was like he was sick of the game being 0-0, and he's like, give me the ball, I'll get a goal, and I'll get things started here. He's a brilliant talent, and you watch the top clubs flock for his signature if Newcastle do get relegated this season.
Yeah, I was thinking that he's almost like what Jack Grealish was to Aston Villa last year, in that just so transcendent among everyone else on his team. And there's a lot of money to be made if they let him go, because why would he want to be in the championship?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting caveat there. They could get a premium price for him, but I guess something that just came to mind as you were talking then, I guess given their financial situation, they could also pay him as a Premier League player in the Championship too. So maybe that could be a thing. I don't see that happening though. He's too good to be playing in the Championship. So, yeah, Alan Saint-Maximin and Kevin De Bruyne win the goal of the weekend this week. Next up, player of the weekend. I won't waste too much time on mine, mate, because you covered it in your winners and losers section. But I went for Felipe Coutinho. The comeback story, assisting a goal, scoring the equaliser, and almost scored the winner too in his comeback against Manchester United. It was just a beautiful thing to see. Just refer to everything Paul said for his winners nomination in the last segment. But who have you got, Paul, for your player of the weekend?
I thought about Raheem Sterling. I thought about Kevin De Bruyne. Raheem Sterling got the Premier League Player of the Month award, so he's fine. Kevin De Bruyne got the Goal of the Weekend award, so he's fine. So I'm good with Steven Bergwijn at Tottenham. This was a very late addition because he earned this award just hours before we started recording this with a Fergie time brace, a late extra time brace to get Tottenham the win over Leicester. And now you look at the table and it is bizarre and strange in all sorts of ways with all the COVID rescheduling and COVID cancellations. However, getting those 3 points for Spurs, they are now 1 point off the top four behind West Ham. But the reason that's huge is they have 3 games in hand on the Hammers, and they've got 4 games in hand on Chelsea, who they're 8 points behind. So it's like, that was big, man. He delivered. He was Captain Clutch here, and he got that win was big. And we've been ripping on Tottenham to no end. So has everyone. But they're not in bad shape.
They absolutely are not in bad shape at all. It was a huge 3 points for them. If Liverpool drop points this weekend, they are legitimately and they win all their games in hand. They'll be second in the Premier League. It's incredible to think about after the Turgis start under Nuno Espirito Santo. Harry Kane scoring goals. It is incredible, and it was just to get back to the player himself, Steven Bergwijn. Just incredible. Played for a penalty about 30 seconds before he scored the equaliser and got in a bit of push and shove with the Leicester centre back, the Turkish guy whose name I can't pronounce, and then scores the winner. It's why you love football, maybe not why Leicester fans love football today, but just generally, it's why you love football.
If only they had hired Antonio Conte in the summer like they wanted to, or they should have.
Yeah.
Where would they be?
Absolutely. Daniel Levy. He must be just slapping his forehead, just wondering what the hell did I do here? And let's wrap up the awards poll with our match of the weekend. I went for West Ham Leeds. I'm going to be honest with you. I went with West Ham Leeds because it was kind of an exciting game. It was a 3-2, and I thought, geez, it had a shock winner. I thought this is undisputed match of the weekend. But you've kind of usurped me here, Paul. Why don't you let people know what your match of the weekend is? Because I 100% support your choice here.
Oh, yeah, I'm going with Spurs Leicester because Steven Bergwijn came with the late heroics, and there's some controversy to it. Not only did you have a come from behind finish, not only did you have a high scoring affair, but you had controversy about how much extra time should have been allowed for injury time. And if I'm Leicester, I'm pretty mad. And just absolute, it kind of reminded me of that match where when Jose Mourinho was still in charge of Tottenham, and they went up 3-0 on West Ham and ended up with a 3-3 draw. And it was funny because all the scoring came very, very late for the Hammers. And this was kind of the same thing in which Spurs, they got all their scoring strikes in at the end, so maybe it's karma. But Leicester is not what Leicester has been in recent years, and this just adds to their woes. But for the neutral, it's quite entertaining.
Match of the weekend, we'll give the silver medal to West Ham Leeds. We'll give the big gold medal to Spurs versus Leicester. And that is the After Extra Time weekly awards. Congratulations to all the winners. With the title all but wrapped up after City's victory over Chelsea gave them a damn near unassailable lead at the top of the league, we roll into match week 23 and what might turn into the longest victory lap an English champion has ever had. Luckily, though, as we mentioned earlier, there is still plenty up for grabs to play for with relegation spots and Champions League qualification all available still and all pretty wide open. Paul, we kick things off with the Moose Men of Watford taking on Norwich City. Give us a little preview on that one, my friend.
Well, you did go out there. You put yourself out on the limb and you said Norwich are not going to be relegated. Watford is another top contender to be relegated. This is really at least it's an even strength match. It's not really if you wanted to this is like if you wanted to experience a Premier League match, but you wanted to pay the cheapest amount of money possible to see it. One.
Beautifully put. Absolutely.
You could flip coins. I'll go with the Canaries.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Norwich. So it's interesting. The Premier League's doing everything it can to garner some interest in this game. It's the standalone Friday night football game in the UK, which is an interesting choice, to say the least. I'm going with the Canaries too. We'll roll on to the early Saturday kickoff. And it's a couple of teams we spent a little bit of time talking about today, Paul. It's at Goodison Park as Everton host Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is Aston Villa making a push for a European spot? Is that possible, especially with now as the 7th place team getting to go on the continent? Or is this just about survival? I mean, their form under Gerrard hasn't been too much improved. It's not that special. I think they could get it done here. I think this might be, this is. Yeah, so then you look at Everton, and it's hard to ever pick them to beat anybody, especially with the type of shape they've been in. They're kind of a mess, so I'm going to go with the Villains in this one.
Yeah, there is. You mentioned Stevie G a little bit there. There is a little bit of a subplot there with Stevie G returning to Goodison Park for the first time in the manager's dugout. I think the Villains will probably get the job done, but it is a bit of a danger fixture. Everton have just sacked their manager, and it's a weird anomaly in sports. You sack your manager, you sack your head coach, you sack your captain, whatever. Usually you get a positive result next time around, but yeah, I'm still going with you. I'm going to back Villa too. Let's roll into the 3 p.m. kickoffs. Traditional 3 p.m. Saturday kickoffs in the UK. It's the Bees. Jeez. The Bees have had a bit of a rough time of it, and they face Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Brentford Community Stadium.
Yeah, for the most part, all of their opponents have been the beekeepers.
Absolutely, yeah. It hasn't.
Yeah, I mean they've really come down to earth.
They've definitely come a cropper in the Premier League. Maybe been found out. Some people might say.
Kind of like Leeds United, it took them another year to be found out in the Premier League, but whenever you make that jump, I guess it's just to be expected. I'm going score draw here. I think both of these teams are going to play it out to a point in a way that they each need a point, and I think they'll each get it.
Yep, I agree with you. Again, I think score draw is a great pick. Wolverhampton are just quietly traveling all right after a bit of a rocky start under their new coach this season. I think they've adapted to him well, and that Portuguese feeling at the Molineux is still reverberating around the change rooms. I'm just rambling a bit here. This sort of say I think it would be a score draw also. Next up, Elland Road. Talk about a couple of sides that are struggling. We have Leeds United although they are just coming fresh off of a victory over West Ham, hosting Newcastle United.
Yeah, here we go. Another it's kind of like Friday night's match. It's another like like if you were getting into the Premier League and let's say you hosted a show and you got to do the highlights and you had like a newbie or a neophyte, somebody working in, you'd give them this game to do the highlights and you'd take the good games for yourself. This is right. Like, hey, I want to buy a ticket to a Premier League match, but I don't know if I'll actually stay for the whole thing. So let me get the cheapest ticket possible. Oh, well, go see Newcastle Leeds. No one wants to go to that. That said, I'm going to go with Leeds. I think they have a very tough possession-based defensive style. I think they can take care of the Geordies here.
Okay. I just to be devil's advocate, not for any reason other than that, I'm going to pick Newcastle. And maybe Alan Saint-Maximin can continue putting himself in the shop window for that move he deserves to a club that can actually win something.
Well, given what we know about Newcastle's new owners, you are devil's advocate if you support them.
Well put, mate.
Yeah. Flashback to Rick Kemper when he was on our show. He took care of. He filled us in on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Go back and have a listen. Very well thought out. Well put. Feelings on the new ownership at Newcastle United that I couldn't support more. Next up's first focus match, Paul. I'm just going to run through some of my stats I've done with my digging. It's Manchester United versus West Ham United at Old Trafford. Huge game, couple of massive clubs. It's interesting to note that United are unbeaten in their last 13 against West Ham United at Old Trafford in the league, dating back to a 1-0 loss in 2007. That's a pretty crazy record. But how's this? West Ham has already beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford in the League Cup this season, right? Only 3 teams have ever won twice away at Old Trafford in the same season. Did you know this, Paul?
No, I did not know that.
The 3 teams are Aston Villa back in 1920, Spurs in 1990, and Chelsea in 2005. So it's only happened 3 times. West Ham are on the precipice of doing something truly remarkable that rarely ever gets done. How do you see this game shaping out, my friend?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for that, because now when I write my preview for United, I've got a little snippet I can copy and paste and not just take care of my word count.
No problems, mate. I'm here to help.
I really I'm a firm believer that this is like a revenge tour, in that, oh my God, we had this manager who didn't even last a season and we paid him like $11 million to go away and not do anything. So let's just beat the crap out of him whenever we play him. But obviously that's a very flawed theory, because David Moyes has managed them twice during this stretch, but obviously that streak goes way, way back to, I'm guessing Alan Pardew and Sam Allardyce manage them, because those 2 guys manage every single club that's in like the mid-table. But yeah, so I have zero worries about this as a United supporter. I cannot tell you how calm and at ease I am about this match. I really don't think it's going to be a problem.
Okay. It may or may not shock you and our listeners to hear. I don't agree at all. I think West Ham will be disappointed if they don't come away with a point. Not because they're in particularly good form, not even because I think they're a better side. Manchester United are really starting to hit their straps under Ralph Rangnick. But all that promise of the early season can basically be flushed down the toilet if they walk away from Old Trafford without at least a point here. We spoke about Tottenham are on their hammer. I'm not sure how it'll pan out if Manchester United win. I think they'll go above West Ham. It's not a geez, it'd be nice to win. This is a must win for West Ham if they're going to fulfill any of that early season promise. But I'm sure we'll touch back on this one next week. One of us is going to be very, very wrong, Paul. Next up is the late kickoff on Saturday in the UK, and it's Southampton at St. Mary's Stadium, possibly facing the hardest task in world football at the moment, this rampaging Manchester City side.
It's going to go one of two ways. They could really be in for a hurt in the South Coast club, or they may raise up and I don't know. City's so weird. It's hard to predict. Like sometimes they get in these goalless draws with mid-table sides, and then the next week they win 5-0, 6-0. I think this is a danger zone game. This is a trap game. I'm thinking this is going to be. I think it's going to be a draw.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. That's a huge call. Okay.
The streak's got to end sometime. I mean, I know it's crazy. I know they're an unstoppable juggernaut right now, but it's going to have to end sometime. And I'm going to go out on a limb with this. I don't think it's going to be a Big Six team that does it. I think it's going to be one of these mediocre mid-tabler guys.
Yeah, that City does have form for that. I got to say, I was not prepared for that prediction, Paul. You could have knocked me over with a feather, mate. I thought when you started off when you prefaced it with it could go two ways, you were going to say they could either get smashed or they could get destroyed. I think they're going to get destroyed. I would enjoy it immensely if your prediction is right, though. So I'll be pulling for that one, mate. Let's move. Oh, just to dot the I's and cross the T's. Manchester City, 9-0 for me. The next.
Yes, that's the Southampton way.
Next up, we've got the Sunday games. First up, we have Arsenal Burnley. Paul.
Oh, that could be called off. I've heard grumblings about that. Mikel Arteta said it before the North London derby, and it was called off. It's really bizarre. That was called off with just one COVID case, but when you add in the 4 guys away at Africa Cup of Nations and you add in Granit Xhaka's red card, all the injuries, it's a weird time. It's a very, very weird time for Arsenal. I think Burnley take points here. I'm not saying Burnley's going to win. They may. I think it may be a draw. I think this is the time you want to play Arsenal.
Okay, interesting. I support this. I've heard about their COVID issues. I think Burnley will maybe take points from that one too. Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace taking on Liverpool.
I think this time Liverpool win decisively, though. I don't think it's close. I think Liverpool have at least established, maybe. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think Liverpool may have established themselves as best of the rest this season when you consider that where they're sitting right now, despite having their top 2 attackers away at AFCON. So I think they'll win this by 2. But yeah, what synergy, huh?
Yeah, I think Palace will push us all the way. I'm not convinced with the forward line that doesn't have Mane or Salah, but I do think that we'll walk away with the chocolates. And in my admittedly biased opinion, I do think we are best of the rest. So 3 points to Liverpool there. Next up at the King Power, we have Leicester City taking on Brighton and Hove Albion. It's the Foxes and the Seagulls, mate.
Walk away with the chocolates?
Yeah. Yeah, not familiar with that one?
No, I know you said first cup off the rank.
Yeah, they're just a couple of Australianisms, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, so Brighton have been less bright after a great start, which saw them serious Europa League contenders, maybe or definitely UEFA Conference League contenders early on. They've kind of come back to earth, but a top 10, they should finish on the first page of the table, I would say. which is right where you see Leicester, which for them is a massive disappointment. I think they'll rise up after what happened today. I think they're going to be motivated after dropping points there. So I'm going to go with the Foxes.
Yeah, I think the Foxes will win too. If Brendan Rodgers keeps going the way he's going, or if his side keeps going the way they're going, he could find himself out of a job soon, and this could be a good audition for Graham Potter to maybe take over the Leicester City role. I think Leicester
out of a job 6 weeks ago. He was supposed to be the next Manchester United manager.
This is true. This is the crazy world that is football. I think Leicester have been poor. I mean, I think the way you stay good in the Premier League is you don't let the rot set in. And the rot has definitely been setting in for Leicester this year. I think if they miss out on the Europa League, Brendan Rodgers is a dead man walking. I've seen Graham Potter's name bandied about for the Everton job. I know Graham's an avid listener of the podcast, so mate, listen to me. Stay away from that. That's a poison chalice. You're too good for it. Do your audition at the King Power this weekend, and you'll probably do a pretty good job at the head of Leicester. I think Leicester will take the victory in that one, mate. And then finally, it's our final focus match. It is a bit of a London derby. It is more than a bit of a London derby. It is a huge London derby. Historically, the way things sit on the table, all the things. Chelsea hosting Tottenham Hotspur at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea have won 5 of their last 6 against Spurs, keeping clean sheets in 5 of those games in the process, which is just incredible. Another incredible stat. Spurs have won just 1 of their previous 31 away matches against Chelsea in the Premier League. Drawing 10, losing 20, winning 1. Interestingly, though, their sole victory came in April of 2018 when current boss Antonio Conte was in the Chelsea dugout. So whether that means anything, I don't know if these stats mean anything at all. They're just interesting to me. I think Tottenham will take the points here. Chelsea seem to be in a little bit of turmoil.
In the words of Homer Simpson, you can cite statistics to prove anything. 44% of people know that. Yeah, I think Conte is obviously going to have a ton of motivation for this one. Mm-hmm. He would love to hurt Roman Abramovich. Absolutely. Well, actually, no, he's said in interviews he has a great relationship with Roman Abramovich and everything, but no doubt he's going to want to beat the club that sacked him. And I don't know, because I'm not sure if I really believe in them, but I don't believe in Chelsea either because they've only won 1 of their last 5. And that's a month ago in this space. If we said that, that would seem unreal. So I think they're going to split the spoils.
Okay, so it's a draw for you, Paul.
It's a draw for me.
All right, mate. I'm going with Spurs, and that wraps up our Premier League Match Week 23 preview. Paul, as always, it has been a pleasure, my friend. Why don't you let the folks at home know what's been going on with you, mate? What have you got to tell them about?
Oh, I wanted to tell them about this trip I took over the weekend, the holiday weekend. I covered only my second basketball game at my alma mater, the University of Illinois, in the last 4 or 5 years. First down there since COVID began. And it was a big game it was number 17 versus number 4 in Purdue, winning a double overtime. Really exciting, really interesting, really fun. It was on Martin Luther King Day, so you had that aspect. It was a weird, morning tip off on a Monday. But beyond all that, transcending basketball was Meyers Leonard. Still trying to he's currently an NBA free agent. He's played 9 years in the NBA, the Miami Heat, the Portland Trail Blazers. He got into some hot water in the past year he was on Twitch, he was on a video gaming platform, and he used an anti-Semitic slur. And he's apologized extensively. He's been out there really in the Jewish community. He's been working with rabbis and everything, educating. He's really done all he could to make amends for what he did. And he came down to school. Came back to Illinois. He played 2 seasons at Illinois before leaving earlier for the NBA draft, and gave $500,000 to the school. And he did a press conference. And the night before the press conference, I got in and I was like, oh, wow, this NBA player is going to be here. There's going to be a press conference in the morning before the game. So I listened to a podcast and I asked him a question in the press conference, and it was literally a 10.5-minute answer in which he nearly broke down crying in his response. But the reason I bring it up is something that transcends basketball, transcends football, soccer, football. He talked about mental health. He talked about seeking therapy. And on this podcast, I mean, this is a big 7-foot, like 260-pound ripped out dude, world-class athlete, big tough guy. And he's talking about getting in touch with his emotions and all of his mental and emotional baggage. And, if he can do it, so can the rest of us. And that was my big takeaway. And the night before the press conference, he did this podcast in which the guy hosting it, he's another guy. He's the leading scorer in Illini basketball history, this 6'10" guy from Simeon here in Chicago, who talked about his journey into therapy in the past year, how he sought out, psychotherapy to work on his issues. And that's the key. Like, that was what my question was to him was, for people who are on the fence or feel that it shows weakness or everything, to seek help. No, get out and seek help. Please do.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. Definitely. If you feel something, say something. Get out there and mental health is real health. Doesn't quite have the stigma these days of yesteryear maybe, and there's plenty of help out there for people who want to receive it. Is there something on the Sports Bank about it that I can link people to in the episode notes?
Absolutely. Honestly, I have to admit, this took away from some of the enjoyment for the game for me, because after this session, I kind of was like, well, I'm going to watch a basketball game now. I got to write about a basketball game. I got to focus on that. This is so much more important and so much more meaningful. And I'm like, well, I can't really listen to audio and transcribe quotes. So I kind of did a summation. I put in the links to the video and the podcast. And I was like, you know what? That's better anyway. Go watch the video, go listen to it, hear and see him in his own words. And you'll find those links on the Sports Bank. And you'll find my summation of it. You'll find my synopsis of it on the sportsbank.net. And then, once you've read what I've said, hear him speak on the pod and the presser, and then make up your own mind. And that's really the message, is that, don't feel ashamed. Like, we're all, none of us are the finished product, and we're all in process at all times.
Absolutely. Beautifully put, Paul. I'll definitely drop the link in the episode notes this week. But unless you've got anything else to add, mate, that's it for another episode of After Extra Time. Be sure to follow us at our Twitter account at @AFTER_podcast. Be sure to get all your latest football news at thesportsbank.net. And last but not least, show the third member of our pod some love by following at Otis Ginger Tabby on Instagram. Until next week, he's Paul M. Banks. I'm Stuart Kavanagh, and this has been After Extra Time.